There have been multiple rounds of conversation between the co-commanders of the Indian and the Chinese armies. An entire elaborate disengagement plan had been minutely laid out, and initially it seemed that the plan was going as per the agreement. However, the past few days have shown that the Chinese are no longer pulling back. They've pulled back in Galwan, they've pulled back in the Hot Spring-Gogra area, but in Pangong and in the Depsang plains, the Chinese army is not vacating illegally occupied territory. They're holding firm. There was a briefing by high-level sources in the army which suggested that up to 40,000 soldiers of the People's Liberation Army are still ensconced, deployed in the eastern Ladakh sector. And this raises the question, will this be a long deadlock? Are we in for a very brutal winter because it gets really cold at those high altitudes? Where do things go? Because if the armies are so close to each other in deadlock, the possibility of things going wrong at any moment always exists. So how should India now be dealing with the dragon who refuses to go back? We'll look at that in great detail. ABHISHEK, BHALLA, our defense correspondent, files our lead story tonight.
Over 2 months of a war-like standoff. Over 5 weeks since the Galwan clash with big casualty numbers on both sides. And then came a phase of disengagement, with troops on both sides pulling back to avoid another confrontation. But a fortnight into the pullback in eastern Ladakh, things have hit a roadblock. After a progressive disengagement that began early in July, things have now slowed to a stop. In other words, after pulling back a certain distance, the disengagement process has come to a standstill, with Chinese troops holding on to their new positions. The Pangong and Hot Spring-Gogra areas remain volatile. Sources say there are still no signs of the Chinese army dismantling structures they had set up between Finger 8 and Finger 4 of Pangong. In the Hot Springs sector at Patrol Point 17A, around 40 to 50 soldiers are separated by just 600 to 800 meters. In the Galwan Valley's Patrol Point 14, where the bloody clash took place on June the 15th, the Chinese have moved back 1.5 kilometers from the line of actual control, and the distance between troops on each side is 3 kilometers.
India's stance is categorical. That status quo ante has to be maintained, and China has to get back to the positions it was in as of April of 2020. And India has said no blinking, no brinkmanship, and carried out now deployment, build-up, which has been there, which is matching, or rather more than matching, the build-up by the PLA.
Remember, a big hint of the current roadblocks came from none other than the defense minister, who said that we must remain alert, indicating clearly that China cannot be trusted.
जो कुछ अब तक की प्रगति हुई है बातचीत की, मामला हल होना चाहिए। लेकिन कहां तक हल होगा, अभी इस संबंध में मैं पूरे कोई गारंटी नहीं दे सकता हूं। लेकिन मैं इतना यकीन दिलाना चाहता हूं कि भारत की 1 इंच जमीन को भी दुनिया की कोई ताकत छू नहीं सकती है, उस पर कब्जा नहीं कर सकती।
Post the Galwan clash, India has changed the rules of engagement, making it aptly clear that the expansionist agenda of its Himalayan neighbor will not succeed. While China's stubbornness in keeping its word was very much expected, India's muscle flex in the Indian Ocean can be seen as an element in the larger game, and with the United States digging in its claws progressively,
you can't go make claims for maritime regions that you have no lawful claim to. You can't threaten countries and bully them in the Himalayas.
China has decided to dig in its heels. Is the answer more talks to dislodge a stubborn China, or something else?
With the Chinese not pulling back completely as was discussed in various meetings, the disengagement process has hit a roadblock. Many now feel calling it a long haul would be an understatement, and the Indian Army has already begun preparations for the winter deployment, which could be extremely harsh. And amid all this, the Defence Minister's statement that the Indian Armed Forces need to be prepared to respond at a short notice is of much significance. With camera person Satya, ABHISHEK, BHALLA in New Delhi for India Today.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.